Former President Trump expected to take the stage any minute now. But as his campaign rolls along, the legal issues surrounding him continue to impact the presidential race. For a look at the political and legal side of the Trump indictments, we are joined now by Niall Stanage, White House columnist at The Hill, and attorney Mark Reichel. Gentlemen, thank you so much both for being here. Ramifications of Trump trial being fast-tracked. Let's talk about that. And I want to just jump in there with you, Mark. What works in his favor and what works against him?
You know, a federal judge has awesome power. They have unbridled power in our system. So they're going to listen to any defendant about good cause, reasons they can't go to trial in a certain period of time. But at the same time, on the other side of the equation is the people of the United States actually have speedy trial rights as well to a prompt disposition of criminal cases. So that is going to be the fulcrum that this judge looks at. I've got a feeling that at some point this judge is going to say, look, you know, you've been given every item of discovery early on. I think maybe 7 months, 8 months is the most. And it's going to require probably Florida, the federal case, to trail this one.
Niall, do these indictments help or hurt the former president?
They probably help him in the Republican primary, but I think they certainly hurt him in a general election if he becomes the Republican nominee. What we've seen, Nick, in the past two indictments in New York and in Florida has been that rallying around effect, a bit of a fundraising spike for the former president, a slight edging up in the polls. But remember, he lost the popular vote by more than 7 million votes in 2020. So how does being indicted get those voters back, get those people in the middle ground to back him? I find that almost impossible to see how it helps him in that regard.
But Niall, it is fair to say that this current situation has helped with both fundraising and keeping the conversation centered on Mr. Trump.
Yes, that's certainly true. I mean, I think it is frustrating for his Republican rivals. Those rivals, of course, are having enormous difficulty making any headway at all in any case. The lead for former President Trump is now nearing 40 points. But what happens each time we have an indictment or an arraignment is that Mr. Trump, for good or for bad, consumes all the oxygen in the room. And so you have other candidates, you know, trying to announce policies on the border or inflation or whatever else, and they can't get a hearing, never mind a headline. And so that is very difficult for them. It keeps him center stage. And as I say, in the Republican primary, it doesn't appear to do him any harm at all.
And Mark, when you see the number of charges against a former president, at some point, does it become overkill? Has it all simply at this point just become white noise to so many people who are sitting out here in TV land as a normal citizen who aren't glued to this every day?
No, there's no dispute that people are confused about exactly what all the charges are, where the jurisdictions are. But the different issue, though, is the people that are in federal law enforcement, people that are involved in the criminal justice system, are just the courts, which is where we settle our disputes. You know, they follow the rule of law. So if there are facts that support a crime, they're going to file it. They're going to charge it. And if it results in the public being confused because there's so many, that's not something the system really takes into account.
Mark, Niall, we're looking at President Trump live now, about to take the stage, and he's about to speak. The minute he starts to speak, I do want to take a couple of sound bites from him live to hear what he has to say. But before he starts to speak, Mark, I want to ask you one more question. What do you expect to happen in the next few days as Mr. Trump and his team try to argue to push the trial further down the road?
It's going to actually be on the 28th. It'll be finally determined. However, I think what they're going to fine tune in the next week is what he can do right now, because that's kind of a vague bond condition. Don't do this and don't do that. Watch this. But boy, I think that the government is going to narrow down, the judge is going to narrow down what he can do, because this is so difficult. Candidate running for president, extremely popular. And what can they say when they're campaigning for presidency? They're charged with a criminal case. I get it. They're out on bail. However, this has never happened before, never even conceived before.
And Niall, how much longer before his rivals for the GOP nomination actually start to attack and turn their arrows at Mr. Trump?
Well, we've seen Ron DeSantis, for example, being more aggressive than he has been previously in pushing back on former President Trump's false claims of election fraud. We had Governor DeSantis say that those claims were unsubstantiated recently. That's a harder line than normal. Just briefly, before the former president speaks, to pick up on one point of Mark's about this trying to distinguish between the trial and the election. He did attack Mike Pence only a couple of hours ago. Is that interfering with the case, or is that speaking to the election campaign? These are the kind of questions that have to be determined.
Niall Stanage, Mark, thank you so much. We'll listen to Mr. Trump, and I'll see you guys maybe in the next hour. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.